Electrical Contractor Insurance. What coverages are needed? How much does it normally cost? And how can you get a quote? My name is Nate Jones. I'm the owner CEO of Wexford Insurance. I run a national insurance agency that operates in 48 states. We have a very large team and we insure probably over 70 to 80 electrical contractors across the nation. So we have a very good sample size of what we can explain to you on expectations of coverage and cost. Let's dive into this. Well, we insure a lot of different types of electrical contractors, and depending on the type of contractor you are, depends on the cost. So if you're doing residential, light commercial, it's a lower cost. If you're doing heavy commercial, industrial, maybe you're touching fire alarms, security alarms, depending on what you're doing will depend on your cost. So it's very important when you do get a quote with whoever you're working with, and maybe you're not working with us, to further explain what you're doing so the insurance agent can make sure that everything you're doing will be covered and you're not going to have a claim denied. That's the biggest thing that you don't want to happen. So, number one coverage you need is general liability. Whether you're a startup, you're starting your own electrical contracting business, maybe you're doing it on the side. It's a side hustle. You're just doing side electrical work. Maybe you're a company with 10, 20 employees. It doesn't matter. You need general liability insurance. That covers if somebody gets hurt on the job. So let's say you have a hot line, some pedestrian comes, touches it, and hurts themselves. It covers your liability for their bodily injury, their harm. So they get hurt, maybe they get injured, they electrocuted. Maybe your toolbox is on the ground and some kid runs by and trips over it. Something like that. Crazy things that happen all the time. The next thing is property damage. Let's say you're trying to repair something and you bust a water line somehow and flood a building. Something crazy like that. We have bodily injury, protects people. Property damage protects the building and the property you're working on. You cause damage to something and your insurance will pay for it. There's also some other coverages in there, but for the main part, those two coverages are what electrical contractors need, okay? The next thing is workers' compensation. If you have helpers, 1099, even cash, anyone who's helping you who is not a true subcontractor has their own insurance, they're treated like a sub, they're paid by the job. Even if you 1099 somebody, you could, most states, you are responsible to provide workers' compensation insurance. Why is that? Because the state doesn't look at how you pay somebody, it looks at how you treat them. So if you treat them like an employee, provide them tools to do their job, tell them when to show up, tell them when the job's done, they are an employee. Doesn't matter. A spade is a spade. Okay, so that's where they could get injured on the job. They're in the hospital. What happened? I got injured at the job at ABC Electric. ABC Electric's going to get the bill. And then you're probably going to have to pay that. And if you don't pay it, you're going to get a judgment. We've seen people literally have a $100,000 judgment because they had somebody come work for them. And then when the dust settles, when somebody loses an eye, nobody's your friend. They want that health insurance paid for. And sometimes you're hiring somebody for the day who doesn't have health insurance. So or the health insurance company's going to come after you. So it's very important to get workers' compensation. The next thing is commercial auto insurance. So commercial auto insurance is just like personal auto insurance. The only difference is in your personal name and it's broader coverage to protect your business. The reason you do this is because if you get in an accident and you're driving for business, your personal policy may not cover it, and you want to have that asset protection because you're driving for the business. Okay, so that covers the same thing, similar to personal auto. It's not the same, but covers your vehicle, covers liability, uninsured, underinsured, somebody doesn't have enough insurance, somebody doesn't have any insurance, you hit somebody else, you're liable for their damages. Also, another coverage is contractor's equipment coverage. So let's say you have a van and you have a bunch of material in there, and let's say you have about $50,000 of material. Well, you want to make sure if somebody steals your van and they set it on fire or they steal it and you never find it again, you have $50,000 of tools in there, $50,000 of material, wiring. You want to make sure that that's covered. So usually what we could do is we could put in a package policy, general liability, contractor's equipment. Sometimes we can put the auto in there. If not, we'll do a separate auto policy. Sometimes we can put the work comp in there. Sometimes we'll have to do a separate policy. So you have general liability, equipment coverage, auto coverage, workers' compensation. If you have a shop and you need to insure the building or you need to insure the equipment, furniture inside, we can do property insurance as well. As you expand into bigger jobs, as you expand into working with bigger GCs, maybe doing some commercial, light industrial, you are going to need an umbrella policy. An umbrella policy is excess liability coverage that sits on top of the general liability, the auto liability, the workers' compensation. Provide an example. You have $1 million general liability policy. Let's say there's a claim somebody gets hurt for $1.7 million. Your general liability policy pay $1 million and that's it. So you have 700,000 that may not be paid. So an umbrella policy, sometimes people get $1 million, $5 million, $10 million. They go above, and usually GCs require that because if you're working on a $5 million building and you only have a $1 million policy, well, what's going to happen? Your policy is only going to pay $1 million, and they're going to have to come after you for the next 4. And if you don't have that, you just probably go bankrupt and move on, right? So they want to make sure their asset is protected while you're working there. So that's why they require that umbrella liability coverage. Okay, what are the costs of all this? So a cost for a small general liability policy on the minimum, $400 to $1,000 for the year if you're just a startup. You add some employees, it could go up from there. Commercial auto is anywhere from $1,000 to $4,000 for the year, depending on how big of a vehicle you have, how new, how expensive. Workers' compensation is about $1,000 per 50 to 60 to 70,000 payroll, depending on the state. So all in, a small electrical contracting business, and I'll include the equipment coverage here, but equipment is usually like $400, $500 for the year. You should be able to get an entire policy for a new electrical contracting business with one employee under $10,000. Usually we're under $5,000 in some states. So again, if you're doing $500,000, $700,000 in revenue, there's no reason why you should be paying more than $15,000 to $20,000 unless you have a unique case that I don't know about. But usually, we have pretty much every insurance company out there. We're an independent agency, so we can shop all of the different insurance companies, and if your rate goes up at renewal, we can price it out. So how do you get a quote? Well, you reach out to Wexford Insurance. We insure a ton of them. We understand the industry. We understand when you need a certificate of insurance to get on the job site. We turn it around very quickly within an hour. We have a young team. We're vibrant. We're excited to work on your insurance. We want your business to grow. We're not an old agency that's just sitting around playing golf all day. We want your business to grow. And we're an expanding, growing agency. We're probably one of the fastest growing agencies in the nation. So we want to help you grow your business by making sure that you're not waiting on insurance to hold you back. And we want to make sure that you're covered so you can grow and scale your business safely for you and your family. So reach out to Wexford Insurance. There'll be a comment link below on the comment, or you can click more information, and it kind of summarizes what I talked about today. And reach out to us today, and we'll be happy to help you out. Thanks. Bye.